Two people waiting. View. Susi, ¿cómo hago para que puedan entrar? ¿Lo ves ahí?
Unos minutos.
Ahora sí, vale. Nicola, Tainá, Francini. Ok.
Welcome to Catalyzing Change Week. This year's Catalyzing Change Week is about solutions from the front lines by social innovators.
In 2022, Catalyst 2030 concentrated its efforts on bringing proximate leaders and frontline solutions to the forefront. Collaborations led by members from the Global South produced groundbreaking reports on climate and transforming education, with an emphasis on offering local solutions. We continued our mission to create an enabling environment for social entrepreneurs to flourish by initiating a letter to donors, signed by more than 1,200 social entrepreneurs and innovators. The Catalyst 2030 awards ceremony was spectacular, and the awards themselves welcomed by the private sector, governments, bio multilaterals and donors.
Catalyst 2030 as a movement is disruptive.
One of the best things I think that's come out of Catalyst 2030 so far is incredible collaboration across the ecosystem that just didn't exist before Catalyst came into being.
The thing I love most about Catalyst is that it's an open movement for social entrepreneurs around the world.
I'd encourage anyone who's looking to be more connected with their local communities around social development goals to come along to Catalyzing Change Week.
Welcome to Catalyzing Change Week.
Okay. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this second day of the Catalyzing Change Week. My name is Zaya, and I'm calling in from Curitiba in Brazil. And it's my pleasure to be your moderator today for this very informal and I hope educative session. This session will be dedicated to talk about the first edition of the Catalyst 2030 Fund, or a challenge, as we call it here in Brazil. And that has been run by the Brazilian chapter to support and encourage financially collaborative action in favor of SDGs. And so I think, Eleni team, everyone, first of all, it's a real pleasure to be here. And I'm so happy to see these brilliant social entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and friends from Brazil and all over the world. It will be my first time moderating. So let me first of all to present the intention for this session. It's really to present you our case and share some lessons learned from this experience. And of course, collect some ideas and suggestions for future editions, because we are not planning to stop at this pilot. I just wanted to introduce, before we share with you, my colleague Monica will tell you more about the context and results. I just wanted to introduce 2 housekeeping rules here. I just would like to invite you to be kind to each other. Most of our speakers today are not native English speakers, but we just wanted to hold this session in English to be able to share our experience with many more people. So if you see someone struggling, also English is not my native language. So if you see someone struggling, your colleagues, please help each other. And the second rule, please be curious, ask questions. This is really the purpose of this session. For those, please use the chat if you have any questions during the conversation, and we will have a special questions and answer session later in the second part. So yes, I then will quickly introduce our guest speakers today before Monica will give you a little bit about the context and results. Susanna, maybe we can stop sharing this screen for right now so everyone can see each other who is in this room. So today we have with us Monica Pasqualin, who was leading together with me and other members of Catalyst 2030 Brazil, the working group dedicated to the fund. And she was also one of the members of the jury. We have here Rafael Meyer, my friend, who is traveling the world. I haven't seen you for such a long time, so good that you're here. Rafael, who is the founder of Simbi, a B Corp that offers an ecosystem of social investment management solutions, and personally invited me to be part of this journey. So thank you so much, Rafa, for inviting me. It was a beautiful learning journey together with you and everyone. We have Cristiana Velosa from Rio. Chris, where is your beautiful background? Look at this background, guys. Amazing. Cristiana, who is an ESG consultant for Instituto FI, connecting donors with social projects. We have here Taina, calling in from São Paulo, who is a leading social impact efforts for Ambev, AMA. Next, we invited Guilherme Castanha, also, I guess, connecting from São Paulo, and who is a specialist in SDG 6 and was also part of our independent jury. Jussara Salgado, who is connecting up north from the Amazonas, and who will be representing the collective that has actually won this first fund. And she will be telling a little bit more about the local context and what this fund represents for the local community. And we also invited Matthew Bishop here, who has visited Brazil, I guess last year, right, Matthew, to connect with social entrepreneurs in Brazil. And he was very curious to learn more about this fund. At that stage, it was just an idea, Matthew, right? And now we will be present here listening to us. And we hope at the end of this conversation, share a little bit about his thoughts and ideas or questions as well for the fund during the session. So actually, I think if I'm not forgetting anyone right now, welcome. And I would like to pass first to my friend and colleague Monica to tell us a little bit more about the origins of the fund, how did it start, and provide us with key outcomes as well. Monica, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zaya. Thank you all for being part of this incredible journey. And Eleni, can you please put in the first slide? Yes, please. The main goal of this session is to share with you our experience, and also to learn with you some ways to improve the next editions of the Catalyst Fund and challenges. So just to give you a little bit of context of our main outcomes, we have here in Brazil 35 million Brazilians that do not have access to clean drinking water. So we started this initiative talking to some of our members and learning what is the most pressing challenges that they face in order to have clean water and sanitation in their local communities. And we learned a lot, because in this working group, none of us were an expert of SDG 6. And the results were very surprising, because we thought we would have just 10 projects, but we had 26 projects applied, which means this is a collaboration. The main characteristic, well, or the main reason we wanted to people or organizations to tackle this challenge was to be a collaborative working group. So we had this 26 projects, but it meant much more of organizations and also people collaborating to put this this project up. So we had these 26 projects, but we had 68 organizations and companies, social entrepreneurs, and academic people also working in those 26 projects. All of 5 Brazilian regions were participating, which is we have a very large country. So it's important to have everybody working and applying. And it was very, very diverse also, because we had projects for all across the country, and 5 of them were to indigenous people and 2 for quilombolas, which is for people of Black people that have very structured work. So, you know, we had to our main challenge was to put this in a way that it could be replicated. So can you move to the next slide, please? Next slide. Yes, thank you. So we needed first to the beginning of this initiative was very hard. We started meeting every week, so we could have sprints and to put it up. And we had this goal to launch this challenge in the year 2022. We wanted to have it in 2022, so we could be very energized, as I could say, to have some milestone up. It's very important. So we gather every week, as I mentioned, and we had this first sponsor, which was Irma, and Tainá is representing here. She will speak with us a little bit more further, and she was very courageous to sponsor something that wasn't very well structured yet. And we invited Instituto Iguá and Fluxus, which is Guilherme Castanha, is from Fluxus. And because we needed to learn better about the SDGs number 6 and understand how we could promote this SDG and make more people more organizations to be together and making some para frente, moving forward to achieve those and tackle that problem of 35 million people without clean water. And we understood that we didn't have enough knowledge to put this up without some of our collaborators, which was a legal advisor. This is PLKC, which is attorney law firm. Simbi of Rafael, who Zaya just told us, who was our compliance consultant. Simbi did all the audit for the organizations. We need to audit them so we could send the grant to a very well organized and organization. And also IDEIS, IDEIS, which is a grant, the grant application consultant. So we needed to and also Instituto FI, forgive me, Cris, Instituto FI is the manager of the fund and the finance, the one who will send the money that we raised to the working collaborative group that won the project, this challenge, sorry. And we have also Jussara here, who is the Projeto Saúde e Alegria, which was the grant winner. And they had this amazing project with 5 different organizations to collaborating with one another to put this up. So it was a very intense beginning to put this fund and challenge up. And we struggled a lot, but we have a very long journey and with very good learnings, and we would like to share them with you. First, I believe it's very good for the chapters to talk to the other members, especially the members that are more experts in that specific SDG, and we did that here in Brazil, but we had this SDG had not much members. We have a lot of members in other SDGs, not in number 6. So I believe it's the first step is to talk to the members who work with the SDG that you want to put the challenge forward. And next is to define the roles of each member of the working group that's going to lead this initiative. So it's everybody in the working group is social entrepreneur, so they have their own background, and all of them are volunteers. So we need to be very organized and have a PMO, as we talked before, to move this initiative going every week. So those are the beginning and then when we had this little structure up, we were able to move forward in this challenge. So Zaya, this was the beginning of our journey that it was good to share with everybody. And this was my part in this session, but I will move the floor to you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Monica. For those who joined us while Monica was speaking, she really, I think, gave us a good local context. First of all, why we even wanted to set up this fund, and the biggest challenge and what we wanted to achieve together as a collective as well here is to really understand how we can bring more water to more people in Brazil through collaboration, right? And have something, a tangible action. That's how the fund was born. And the structure that you can see of all these different actors is really for you to understand that there was no one organization that we just, handed over, please run this fund. It was even very collaborative in the setting up. So, and I can tell you, and Eleni here, who's coordinating the movement here in Brazil, it's not an easy task to set up a governance, to have all these different actors, social entrepreneurs and their organization to work together and understand the scope of each other. And that is why we have so many different organizations, so many different social entrepreneurs, and it took us some time to set up a certain governance. And we have a lot of lessons learned from that part as well. But that is the purpose of this session, and that is why we wanted to invite different stakeholders, different actors who are listed here and represented by their founders or people who work within these organizations to share a little bit about how was the process for them and what did they learn. And so I see my friend Rafa has his hand up, and I wanted to ask if Rafa, do you have something to complement? You were at the origins of this fund as well. Anything important that you would like to share with the group today?
Yeah, okay. Hey everyone. It's nice to be with you all. No, just complimenting what you just said and what Monica said. That I think that as we were part of this big movement that is Catalyst 2030, and we were all putting great social entrepreneurs together, just discussing a lot. How could we do something together? How could we collaborate? How can we gather more of our powerness, gather more of all the structures that we all have by ourselves, and we're all discussing with this big group. And I think that the main word that came after a while was, how can we do something tangible? I think that's a key word that Zaya just told, because we were like saying, okay, we were here discussing and we have just a huge lack of time, and how can we put something together, and how can we actually collaborate to achieve the 2030, the SDGs, and to do something more tangible and with a real social impact that we could see it. So the fund became with this main idea to do something tangible and to gather into action the main pillars that we have in Catalyst 2030. There is collaboration. How can we be together and collaborate to accelerate the possibilities, to accelerate the social impact, and also to accelerate the achievement of the SDGs. So what I think that is really interesting about this case is because it's actually one of the first funds that we have in Brazil that is not considering just one NGO. That is not a competition. That is not like you cannot be together alone to apply to it. You need to be with other NGOs. You need to be to other companies, to other big corporations, with other partners to apply on it. And for us, this was a big challenge because we launched this fund just before the new year, and the NGOs would have like just after the new year to apply on it. So we were like, okay, we are probably not getting that much of NGOs because we have the New Year's Eve and it's holidays here in Brazil. So how can we deal with that? And surprisingly, we had this amount of NGOs that applied together and these big groups of NGOs collaborating with each other just to apply for this fund. So I think that is a really key point, because it's not true to say that just the NGO that received the grant was the one that was being impacted by the fund, because we actually needed to put the NGOs together to discuss with themselves how they will do, how can create a collaborative action, and to apply for the fund, for the grant here itself. So it's important to say that one of our main goals were to create this collaborative environment, to plant the seeds so the collaboration can grow afterwards. So I think that's something really important, because even we had 5 NGOs that were contemplated and received the grant. but we have other 63 NGOs that were talking with each other, putting a collaborative action together. And even if they were not collaborated or did not receive the fund, this time they are able to be in touch with each other and to understand that they could be working actually together, and that the collaborative way, it's also faster, easier, and more efficient than do it by themselves. And I mean, like, for sure, we needed to be a collective action by ourselves, because otherwise we would not make sense. And it has, like, of course, a lot of challenge on it, but it made it possible, and it became a true tangible action that came after the fund. And hopefully we have a few more ahead coming.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Rafa. Really, I think partnerships indeed, and for those who have maybe haven't had enough information about the fund, so it was the scope, the organizations who were applying for this fund had to have different partners for the application. And as Rafa mentioned, not only between different NGOs, but also the scope was much broader. They could collaborate with local companies or social impact organizations. So the scope was very, very diverse. And talking about partnerships, I wanted to ask Taina Nascimento from Amdev AMA to tell us about who was the first funder of this pilot dedicated for SDG 6, right? To tell us a little bit about from the funder's perspective. Then I remember that you joined us from the very, very beginning of this idea, as Monica told us, when it was just an idea with a little bit of structure, but not like, you know, a very solid project. So what did you consider to support such a different initiative, like funding collaborations in Brazil? And what would you do differently in the next edition?
Hello, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. Gaia is, just to context, I am a social impact manager in Ambev at Ambev. So we work with some projects impact, and one of them is AMA, our water. And the proposal of AMA is the same of the Catalyst 2030 SDG 6 is to guarantee access for people clean water for people that don't have clean water. But the difference of our working that we have been doing since 2017 is the collaborative project. Is the collaborative that I think I am. Everybody's.
No, you're listening. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. For me, it's frozen there. So I think that the difference it is, and the possibility to know to open a space to innovators projects that we don't have without the notice that we had to putting NGOs and other stakeholders, other actors to work together. So in these 6 years of AMA, we normally working with the same partners, and there isn't a space to, or we can access new projects, new NGOs or actors to do something different and to give space to innovators, in fact. So for us, I think the first aspect that we understand that it will be good to be together with you. So, but I think there is another aspect that we don't preview, that we will have, we will learn, in to find with Guilherme, Rafael, Monica, Zaya, to find a point of balance of different backgrounds to invest. So we had a lot of discussions. So to respecting technical, to respecting purposeful needs, to respect financial, and to find a project with we can achieve the same proposal that we have with the different areas, different perspectives together. So I think the biggest learn, and I think we will be more mature the next edition, is to understand this balance, to understand that every point is important, and the quality, the structuring the project, and sometimes long terms to have results, but we can active together and understand. I think the project in the final is much more rich. So I am really happy to be part since the beginning. So I hope we will be together the next editions. So thank you to invited me.
Thank you so much, Taina, for being here, but also for your courage. In my previous work, I was working a lot with fundraising, and I guess as all of us here as social entrepreneurs, fundraising is such an important part, right, of our work. And so having those partners, beyond sponsors, beyond funders, who actually trust and have courage to support a different initiative that might not necessarily always have the same metrics as we will use, because Taina, remember all our work to determine what would be the selection criteria, the metrics, and how it's different from a corporate to such an initiative like the Catalyst Fund, right? So thank you for your courage. Thank you so much for trusting in us, and let's build this relationship further. And as you said, we have a lot of work to do, so let's make it more prosperous, and looking forward for next editions together with you. So we have the structure that Monica presented, with all these different organizations and social entrepreneurs having different scopes and in place. Now we have the funding, right? We have our first funder, Devan Ama, joining us, and we have 220,000 Brazilian reais. So what's next? The internal team, we went through we had Edis here, represented by Paola Fabiani, and her amazing team was in charge of setting up the whole grant-making process. Like it is, there are a lot of rules and regulations in Brazil, but making it also very flexible. So I also wanted to say, Paola, thank you so much. If you would like to say a few words, that you also accepted that it's not a normal grant, right? We had to make it much more simpler, easier to be accessible throughout Brazil. So Paola, if you would like to say something from EDIS, from the grant management organization perspective, briefly.
Now, I just wanted to add that it was a wonderful experience to participate in making this happen. Thank you very much, Saya. I'm with bad connection, so I have to close my camera.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paola. And so Edis and Paola's team were really in charge of setting up the grant and putting the application online so the organizations could apply. They did the first pre-selection process, making sure that all the documents were in place, and really were really helpful to us, because every time we were like, okay, we don't want something complicated, we don't want something 20 pages, so that that would actually discriminate a lot of organizations in the way, right? And then we also have here Chris from Instituto FI, who did all the management, also another very courageous organization and woman who does the whole financial management of the fund, without Catalyst 2030 having a legal structure in Brazil. Imagine that. So they also had to trust a lot of people, organizations, their colleagues with whom they work for a long time. So Chris was there, really ensure that all the contracts and documentation were in place, so that we can not only receive the funding from Ambev here, but also distribute this funding to the winning collective. And now at this point, what we said, okay, we cannot just decide who will win or not. And we set up an independent jury. And so this jury was composed not only from different stakeholders that you already met in this session, but also with the specialists of water and SDG 6. And so we have one amazing specialist here in Brazil, Guilherme Castanha, who was there. Guilherme, my question to you, we would like to hear from you a little bit from this selection process. What did you feel when you received the shortlisted organization, and actually what motivated you to participate in such an organization? And please let me know if you have also some lessons learned and things that we could do differently in the future. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Zaya. Thanks for the invitation, and thanks everyone for the opportunity to be along with you all during the process. What I felt at first when I saw the shortlisted was a feeling of being at home. I was uneasy at first because I was never a jury. I was never judging who would receive funds because I was usually on the other side. I was just like the 26 organizations, the 26 proposals we had. I was usually the one writing proposals and setting up agreements with different NGOs and contacting communities. And this time I was on the other side. So I felt quite a lot of responsibility and also a feeling of being home because I knew most of the people there. I knew most of the organizations, or even those who I hadn't heard before. I could easily contact friends. Do you know that person? Do you know who's that organization? Do you know how's their work structure and you know their story? So that made it easier for me to evaluate and to bring up let's say my professional experience into this evaluation, but not in terms of being harsh on it, but rather just to understand the difficulties of raising information and to engage communities in a short time frame. And what I also felt as we went through was that the quality of the proposals were great. We had, out of the 26, I would say that the top 5 or top 6 shortlisted, they were just incredible. They could be chosen easily to handle the funds we had. But we had to make a decision. And that, for me, that was challenging. Because like Tainá mentioned, that, you know, Tainá as a funder had a certain perspective, and I as someone who's usually after the funds, of course, I can see things that Tainá couldn't see, or the people from Ambev, but that's part of the deal, right? I see things and they see other aspects of the proposals, and that diversity of the people judging and evaluating funds was very, very interesting and very rich, in the sense that, again, 5 or 6 of those proposals could easily be in the top one. So I hope that we have more funds for next year and that we are able to support more people, because these NGOs, they're so into what they're doing, and they're so connected into the communities. There is so many beautiful things happening that it's actually touching to see it all happening the way it is. I wasn't expecting to see so many beautiful projects and so many projects that were encompassing more aspects than SDG 6. Of course, our focus was SDG 6, but at the same time, we had throughout our talks, especially in the beginning of the evaluation, we felt that we should somehow measure or evaluate also any aspects that could be improved along with SDG 6, in terms of not only being provision of water, but how could this specific project also support other aspects of water management. So our intention was to, yes, let's focus on SDG 6, but at the same time, let's get the projects working together into the whole framework of integrated water management, and that's something that we should definitely work on a little bit more next year. And just to finish it off, I would say that in terms of experience, that I'm actually happy to dedicate more time to structure how we're going to evaluate all those different aspects of the funds, because we had 10 to 12 different aspects, but we hadn't defined how we're going to offer, say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points to each different aspect. And when we have that more structure, I feel that we have more grounds to be fair in our evaluations. I think they were rich, and I think it was nice hearing very different experiences. But next year, I hope we can collaborate with a little bit more structured evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Guilherme. So everyone understood that the task was so difficult that we couldn't do it. That's why we also set up an independent jury. So Guilherme, as I told you, I was very happy I was not in your position to choose the organizations. But thank you so much for bringing your, first of all, groundness, and your experience, and also your humility. I think throughout the whole process, all of us found ourselves in different roles, not usual roles to us. And so I also wanted to appreciate the humility of our jury members, but also our team from the working group to say, okay, it's not about us. It's not about ego. It's about echo. So we're in here together. So we are working together and showing that vulnerability and say, okay, so what now? Let's invite specialists, let's invite specialists like Guilherme and others to help us, even define. And I completely agree with you. We had 10 or 11 selection criteria, from the impact to the scope, to the reach, whatever, to the connectedness to the local communities. And so in the future, how we can narrow down all those criteria, to help even choose those initiatives that we want to support in a way, maybe in a more structured way. But thank you so much for being there. And your know-how and your humility and your knowledge was extremely important in this election process. And so you mentioned something very important. One of the criteria was not only, about how we can scale this organization or whatever, but to understand how this initiative is grounded and rooted in the local community. And beyond collaboration, that was one of the very important parts of this whole journey. And so we are here with next floor. I wanted to invite Jussara, who is representing the collective. She's working for an NGO called Saúde e Alegria, but she's here representing the collective that has received this fund of this first edition. And I'm going to translate or ask Monica to help me to translate, because Jussara will prefer to speak in Portuguese, but we are here for you. So we wanted to hear from Jussara, what does an initiative like this represents for your community? And if you could just share a little bit with us about the application process, if you had any good surprises or any difficulties. So maybe Monica, since you have your hand raised, could you help me translate this, please, to Jussara? Thank you.
Olá, gente, bom dia. Estão me ouvindo?
Estamos ouvindo, sim. Estamos ouvindo.
Claro, mas acha que a Mo está...
I was muted. Jussara, você entendeu a pergunta da Zaya, não?
Sim, para me apresentar e falar sobre a proposta e tudo mais, sobre a questão do nosso projeto com o fundo.
Sim, Jussara,
eu acho
que como é que foi montar esse grupo colaborativo, né? Então, como é que foi reunir essas pessoas? Que essa é uma parte importante e difícil, né?
Então, bom dia, me chamo Jussara, trabalho na coordenação do projeto Saúde e Alegria, no núcleo de acesso à água e energia. Então, sou responsável diretamente pelas atividades de acesso à água e saneamento. A proposta apareceu num momento muito favorável para a gente, no sentido de que a gente estava bem alinhado com as organizações que trabalham no território indígena Munduruku. Para contextualizar um pouco, o Saúde e Alegria está localizado em Santarém. Santarém, na região norte, né, do estado do Pará. O território Munduruku está localizado em outros 2 municípios que são próximos a Santarém, que é Itaituba e Jacareacanga. O Saúde e Alegria, historicamente, ele tem uma ação, tem ações próximas ao município de Santarém, que é uma região conhecida como Baixo Tapajós. Ações de acesso à água, energia, projetos de geração de renda, projetos de educação. Então, são várias frentes de atuação que o Saúde e Alegria faz com as comunidades ribeirinhas, indígenas, quilombolas. E desde 2019, a gente vem num processo de expandir o nosso território de atuação. E esse território é o Munduruku. Então, a gente já implementou ações de saneamento e acesso à água no território. E o projeto veio como uma possibilidade de a gente conseguir expandir essas ações. Então, a gente já estava trabalhando no território Munduruku desde 2019, juntamente com o Distrito Sanitário Especial Indígena, que é um órgão vinculado ao Ministério da Saúde, que presta os serviços de política pública de saneamento e saúde para os indígenas. E a gente também já estava articulado com associações indígenas, que é a Associação Pariri, que é uma organização que representa os indígenas próximos a Itaituba, e articulado com a Associação Acoborum, que é uma associação de mulheres que representa os indígenas próximos a Jacareacanga. Então, a nossa comunicação com eles já havia se estabelecido há um tempo, a gente já tinha... Pode falar, desculpa.
Just to start translating a little bit what you just said. So Jussara is from Projeto Saúde e Alegria. She's from a department in the Projeto Saúde e Alegria of water and energy, and they are located in the south of the Amazon forest in Pará, and they call South Tapajós. Tapajós is a river, a very big affluent from the Amazon River. And we have some of the indigenous people living there, especially the Mundurucus. And she said that they are working in this initiative of bringing water and energy to these people since 2019. So they were very close to the other participants of this working group to this project that they submitted and applied. And they have this Associação Pariri and also Acoborum, which is run by women, indigenous women, also both of them. And this fund, this challenge, brought them to expand their work in the region, so they could expand their work into the region. Jussara, there's a question that tem uma pergunta que eu gostaria de te perguntar. Vocês fizeram algum acordo, como é que fala, acordo formal entre vocês, para vocês, digo, as organizações, né, para fazer esse projeto juntos?
Então, quando veio a proposta e a gente já estava alinhado com as associações, a gente chamou uma outra organização, que é o Outreach Life, que é a outra organização proponente junto com Saúde e Alegria, que é quem tem experiência com a tecnologia que foi indicada para o projeto, que seriam filtros de balde, que a gente chama. E a partir daí a gente alinhou quais seriam as ações que cada organização estaria responsável, né? Então, Saúde e Alegria entrou como a instituição proponente do projeto, juntamente com o Outreach Life. O Dizer Rio Tapajós, ele entrou com suporte na logística e com o suporte também da equipe, porque eles são o órgão responsável, o órgão público responsável por fazer a política de saneamento e saúde. Então, todas as nossas ações são em parceria com eles. E as associações indígenas entravam com as indicações, porque todo o processo que a gente faz dentro do território é por meio de escuta das demandas das associações. Então, as associações receberam o projeto e elas entram com a parceria nas indicações, porque elas sabem quais são as aldeias mais vulneráveis em relação ao acesso à água, e no acompanhamento do projeto.
Perfeito, obrigada. Deixa eu traduzir. So they did some agreement, but it was not a formal one. But they set roles to each one of them. So this application was made with Projeto Saúde e Alegria and Water is Life, which was the organization that brought the technology of bucket filters. This is how they're going to bring more water to the Mundurucus, which is the indigenous people. And also they have this other organization called the Rio Tapajós, which is a local policies, governmental policies organization. All of the initiatives of Saúde e Alegria are with this organization to bring public policies, I mean, to the region. And also the two indigenous organizations were the ones that would tell where to bring the technology or the bucket filters. So they have this methodology of listening to the people, and then they could see where it was most needed to be part of it. Okay, so this was they set the roles of each one of them, so it could be easier to implement the initiative.
So if I may, perfect. Thank you so much, Jussara. Thank you so much, Monica, for the translation. Just for the context, Salamon, who was here with us and could not stay until now, sent this question. That's why we asked Jussara about the agreement and how the organizations were organized among themselves. And so if any one of you who are here today with us in this virtual room, or in the future will listen to this recording and have questions, I really encourage you, please contact us. We have so much to tell. It's impossible to share, right, within 1 hour with all these different actors. So please write us if you have any doubts, if you want to know, and again, what are the key ingredients, how was the process, email Eleni here, my colleague, who is coordinator of the Catalyst 2030 movement here in Brazil. She will send her email now in chat. So please send us all your doubts, all your questions, and we will be happy to set up a call or answer them one by one. And but now I wanted to give the floor to Matthew. Matthew, like hearing from everything that you heard in this room, what strikes you? Like since the last time we met and we just had this idea to now that it's happening, could you share a little bit about your thoughts for the future, for now, or anything you would like to share with the group? Thank you.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you and congratulations. I mean, I think this is amazing. It's part of the Catalyst 2030 experience to sit in a room with a bunch of social entrepreneurs and they're thinking a big idea, and then to see so soon afterwards, less than 9 months later, I think, 10 months later, this idea has been put into practice. It's really exciting, and it's also really exciting to see just how much the way you have gone about the process of this so much reflects that spirit of collaboration, as well as the obviously the initiative that was received the fund also embodies that collaborative spirit. You know, when Catalyst 2030 was founded, one of the things that it was inspired by was the understanding that social entrepreneurship could not achieve the impact that its potential had unless we behaved differently and collaborated much better with each other. And then a very important lesson that came immediately from that was that we had to change the ecosystem around social innovation in order to really have any hope of achieving the potential that is there in social entrepreneurship. And that one of the ways that we needed to change the ecosystem was to change how collaborative activities are funded, because it's been so much a story of funds going to individual organizations and people rather than to approaches that are collaborative and build the whole ecosystem. And I chair the Catalyst 2030 Awards, and one of the things we're trying to do there is shine a light on good funders, whether they be governments or donors or businesses that work with social entrepreneurs to sort of highlight best practices. But it is striking that what you're doing here is really the first example of a fund that has been specifically developed to embody this Catalyst 2030 principle of collaboration and ecosystem change. And I'm very grateful that you've held this session in English, because I do think you've provided now a resource for the rest of the Catalyst 2030 community that we can learn a little bit about what you've done so far, and hopefully it will encourage and inspire others throughout the world to take a similar approach. And we're going to see this as the first of many such initiatives. And from small acorns to great oak trees grow, and this, I hope, is the beginning of something very big. I also am very interested to know whether, I think it was mentioned very early on in this conversation that that all the projects, or several of the projects that were pitched for the fund, could have been chosen. And whether what's happened to those, has there been do you think there's an appetite amongst donors to step up the amount of money that they're willing to mobilize within Brazil? And what generally are your plans now for the next steps here? How are you going to take this forward, and what can the Catalyst 2030 community more broadly do to support you? But this is exciting, and I'm just really thrilled that I was able to sit in on that early conversation and go away thinking this is great. I wonder what's going to happen, and now it's happened. So it is great. So well done, everybody, and thank you for having me back to hear about it.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you for those encouraging words. And we need you. I didn't invite you just for the encouraging words, because you really showed when you came to Brazil, you told us, you showed the interest, and it matters to us, and we are very proud that, of course, not perfect, but we did this first pilot, Actually, no one asked us to be perfect, but we just needed to do it, right? And we needed this case. And so we will absolutely need your partnership with us in order to formalize this case, and write this case so we can share with other chapters and other funders and everyone else who could support us to make it much more continuous, much more sustainable, and to actually tackle many more other SDGs, not only SDG 6, right? For the future. But thank you so much for being here with us. I think it's very important for all the social entrepreneurs here in Brazil that you are here, that you're interested, and that you're willing to help us to shape this for the future globally. I think we have 1 minute left. I just wanted to first thank you all of everyone here, and we indeed have some thoughts for the future, and Monica will be leading this working group for the future together with the team, but there are already some interesting things happening about the next SDG that we can choose. One of the jury members, Renata from Instituto Iguá, will be working with us to how we can, together with Tainá, how we make this fund, dedicated for water, much more perenne, sustainable, that we don't just do it in a one-time action, right? So there are a lot of things happening, so please stay in touch with us. But I just wanted, with my gratitude, to close this session saying, just to quote one of the people who inspired me the most in this journey, which was an incredible learning journey for me personally as well, like Zaya. But one thing is for sure, water is such a global issue. It is such an interconnected issue. It is connected to all other SDGs. And we understood that no country like Brazil, no company like Ambev can deal with water issue by itself. And that we all need to have a collective action. and it is absolutely necessary. And I think at the UN, a few weeks ago, there was a big UN water conference, and that was clear. Water is such a global issue. It is such an interconnected issue. And so I wanted to quote Karu, that I met during one of our sessions when we met with the collective who won this grant, who works for DSA Rio Tapajós, so who works closely with Jussara on this initiative. And he said, water is life, water is health, and water is the source of all of life. And this is the moment that we need to work in partnerships, because only with partnerships, it helps us shorten the time to act and have a greater impact. And I was so inspired in that moment. I really felt like so connected to this of our fund, because indeed, none of us alone, one organization by ourselves could not have set this fund so quickly in such a short time. It is because we had all these different actors together, all these people together, that we managed to act really quickly, really fast, and we hope to have even greater impact in the future. So thank you everyone who will join us in this room. Thank you everyone who will listen to the recording. And please be curious, be kind, send us your questions, and we will be happy to share more about the experience with all of you in the future.
I believe Elaine wanted, yes, Elaine, you can talk.
Now, if we are ending, finishing the session, we have this Jack Sim, who is a participant, and he was chatting with me. I think he wants to share something very interesting, because he worked with Trata Brasil, and maybe it's a good content. Welcome, Jack. Please feel free to share with us.
So I was typing on the chat that I'm from Singapore, but we are sanitation advocacy NGO around the world, and we got the Trata Brazil to host the World Toilet Summit in 2019 with João Doria, the governor. João Doria. I think he lost the election recently, right?
Yes.
I don't know where is he. Anyway, he was our host, the governor of Sao Paulo. And at that time, 50% of all the sewage of Brazil, which is a lot of people's sewerage, 50% are not treated. And it is a very big problem that polluted the river and spread a lot of diseases. And they lost a lot of income because the beaches that are very beautiful lost their income because the shit go there, right? So what we have is that we lobbied the Senate in Brasilia 2 months before our World Toilet Summit in Sao Paulo, and with the help of the Auditor General Office, we managed to lobby all the senators, and they agree that they have to treat this. So they were getting a lot of resistance from the union, who doesn't like privatization because some people will be fired. But anyway, the senator were brave enough to ignore the union. And to date, 3 years already since the law have passed. The law took 7 months to pass. And now $10 billion is invested into your Brazilian wastewater treatment plant, and still going on. So we are targeting 2035 to get 150 billion if all are invested. We don't believe so because some are not profitable. So I think maybe we will do half. But I met your Trata Brazil people and also all the water people in UN conference in New York just last month. And I will be coming back to help, because they say now with Lula, they're more socialist thinking, and now we have to change the narrative to say this is not capitalism, this is socialism. The story has a little bit of flavoring now. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jack. It would be lovely to have to chat with you also to see how we can do some work together in Catalyst 2030. We know Instituto Trata also, and we could see how we can improve this initiative. I know it's 10 billion, as you said, it's a lot and it's very needed. And this was something that we thought before during this challenge and this fund, because we only had, it was a very good, we were surprised with all of the projects that came with 200,000 reais. We thought we wouldn't have many projects because, you know, for the water and sanitation is not enough, is not a much a big fund, but it was something that we got surprised because we could help people even with this amount of money that Ambev AMA could fund us. So it was, you can see that any fund is a good fund, you know, even for a very big infrastructure initiative that it is needed to the country or to our planet, not just for Brazil. So it's going to be very good to talk to you about this sanitation, see how we as a movement can help you and Instituto Trata.
I only good in sanitation. I don't not good in water. So water, there are many other people. Yeah.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter, because what we want is to have the SDG achieved. So, and sanitation is also a part of the SDG. So this is something that is very important that we forgot to mention. The group, the working group, was not interested in one SDG itself. We want every SDG to be achieved. So we did need to select one of the SDGs to be part of this challenge, because we cannot do it for all of them at the same time. But it's very, the spirit of this, the collaboration of the Chapter Brazil is to put some light in this effort of achieving the SDGs until 2030. We know from the People's Report we won't be able to reach this goal of 2030, but it's, I think, one of the main reasons of this movement is to have this agenda in all of our population in the planet also. So the government and also the companies and the corporates and the entrepreneurs, they all can see and work together towards the same goal of achieving the sustainable development goals. So it's going to be a pleasure to work with you and Instituto Trata also. I believe we can open to some questions if you have, but we can close the session if you don't have any more questions. Do you have any questions? Jean, Faz, Melina, Daniel Lugo, Luciana Moreira, do you have any questions that would you like to ask us? So then I will close the session. It was a very pleasure to be with you. Chris, would you like to say anything?
Only to thank you all for the opportunity in participating in this group and learning so much about an SDG I didn't know anything about before, and about the possibilities of working as a group interested in the eco. and not in the ego part of doing things. So it was great.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Taina, again for being with us. Thank you, Guilherme, for being with us from Portugal as well. And Jussara, thank you so much for being with us too. Elaine, Susanna, thank you for putting this together. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, you all.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.